Hey, good morning and welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It's really nice to have you along this morning. Numbers are growing. I'm very appreciative to all of you who are tuning in, whether it's live, whether it's later. Just more and more of you are subscribing on YouTube, and I really appreciate it. 6 a.m. hour is only on YouTube. Here we go. Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Friday, April 25th. There is a lot going on with the president and major things happening with China. Apparently, Time Magazine is reporting this morning that the Trump administration talking with China to strike a tariff deal, and that the president of China, Xi Jinping, has called the president. That is according to Time Magazine. And I found that that story is just breaking this morning. They are releasing it this morning. And I went to pull the story, and it's like a 27-minute read. I'm looking for something more abbreviated than a 27-minute read. That'd be the whole morning show this morning. So anyway, the president, again, he's saying he's talking with China in order to strike a tariff deal. He has talked about that previously. One of the stories is trending this morning is Trump saying they're talking, and China is saying, no, we're not talking. But it's pretty hard to believe China, I think, because it's in their interest to try to characterize the president as a liar, and I think we've got a pretty good understanding that, China, their record on human rights, their record on, being honest and truthful and forthcoming, a little bit lacking. So Time does have a piece this morning. Why Trump will blink first on China. And they make the case. And they're saying the first sign of this came on Tuesday when the president said the 145% tariffs on China will come down substantially. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent predicted de-escalation in the trade embargo. And there are a lot of things that are going into this. One of the stories we're going to talk about coming up this morning are the polling and where Americans stand, and especially on the issue of the economy. Americans on the economy are not happy. They're really not happy. They expected more. They want more. And we'll get into that in more detail coming up. So that's a big story. Just running down some of the headlines. I have to laugh. I check GoogleNews.com each day. I don't follow GoogleNews.com, but I look at it often just to see what are the news stories that they're highlighting. What are the top U.S. news story? And it's just amazing to me that almost always the first story that they have, and because what I searched was like, maybe I was looking at top U.S. stories. May have been, anyway, it was top U.S. stories. And Google News does consistently, they go first to The Guardian. Do you know anything about The Guardian over in the UK? They're the most left-wing journalists that are out there, left-wing publication. I can't think of any news organization more left-wing than The Guardian. And it's amazing. They're always first in the search results. Yep, here's The Guardian. So this is why I think a lot of people have skewed interpretation and vision of actually what's going on. because they're getting their news through Google News. It's incredible. So a lot of headlines. Again, The Guardian saying U.S. and China holding talks on trade war. Trump says after Beijing rebuttal, yeah, China is saying not true. And it's a question that of who do you believe? Are you going to, in the left-wing media, what's amazing to me, I think, and we'll talk about this over the course of the morning, is how the left-wing media just seems to want the United States to fail. They want Donald Trump to fail. They want the United States to fail. And they are obsessed with that. And it is just more and more outrageous to me every day. So Time Magazine saying why the story I was sharing earlier, why Trump will blink first on China. CNBC, Trump asserts trade talks with China are underway after Beijing denies any ongoing negotiations. Again, who are you going to believe? I think, China, or you're going to believe the president. Just absolutely amazing. Also, we have got judges who are ruling against the Trump administration, and there is ruling after ruling after ruling after ruling on different issues, a number of them. I'm going to touch on them. And Politico had a story, trio of rulings freezes Trump's anti-DEI directives for schools. So they say federal judges yesterday dealt 3 separate blows to the education department's plans to enforce the bans on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they're saying what the Trump administration is doing and likely violating the law. Oh, please, it's just so you've got that going on. The anti-DEI directives for schools. Nope, can't do that, says a judge. And then you've got a judge who is pausing parts of the president's executive order on voting. The executive order instructs the EAC, that's the Election Assistance Commission, to change the national mail voter registration form to require that applicants show a document proving U.S. citizenship before they can be registered to vote. Nope, you can't do that, says a judge. We have got to talk about this. This is just absolutely crazy. You've got a federal judge also declaring the Trump administration cannot block federal money to sanctuary cities. That's unconstitutional, says a federal judge in San Francisco, that the Trump administration cannot withhold federal funds from sanctuary jurisdictions. Where do you stand on that? I mean, that is one of those things that I think this is crazy. That is not going to resonate on Main Street. This judge ruling and you've got that going on in case after case after case. It's federal judges now. And Scott Jennings on CNN was talking about this. And there's a piece at townhall.com this morning. Matt Vespa is saying the judges are at it again. Federal judge slapping down parts of the president's executive order, ensuring that only American citizens vote. And it goes on. So Scott Jennings has been talking about this. Scott Jennings is the lone conservative on CNN, and talking about this, and he shared on social media as he was detailing all of this, the federal judge blocking the president's effort to require proof of citizenship in order to register to vote, should you have to do that. And Jennings said, the objective is clear: nullify the election results and stall Trump until 2028. This is the real, capital letters, This is the real constitutional crisis. I think that is extremely well put by Scott Jennings as he's looking into it. Yeah, and it's just amazing what you see these federal judges doing. I believe Jennings is exactly right. They want to nullify the election. They want to stop Trump. They want to slow him down. They want to wrap him up in court so that by the time any of this starts getting, and this is where I get really frustrated and believe the U.S. Supreme Court has got an obligation to step in and stop all of this nonsense. And the system is broken. I have thought, I believe for a long time the system's broken. The question is whether it's broken beyond repair. Is it broken beyond repair? And I think at this point, it's up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And do you trust them? I just don't know. I'm very concerned because I think the U.S. Supreme Court should have entered into this fray already. If it were up to me, they would have already entered into the fray and said, "Stop! No, enough. We're not going to be having this." Set clear, because the U.S. Supreme Court obviously has, when it comes to the Constitution and the actions of the president, obviously they've got a role. Do these when we've talked about this before, do these lower federal district judges have that kind of authority to stop the administration repeatedly in their tracks? I don't believe so. And it shows what a mess our judicial system is and why this issue of who is selected for these roles, and Republicans have always been pretty amenable. It's like, okay, elections have consequences, and if we lose, if Republicans are not in power, except in some pretty extraordinary cases, they just go ahead and approve judges, understanding that it's the way elections go. If we lose the election, then whoever wins, you have the power to install your judges. And the judges that we are seeing are just absolutely maddening, outrageous. It's not because I disagree with them or their interpretation of law. I'm not a lawyer. I think it's just the very fact that these lower level federal district court judges are able to interfere. The U.S. Supreme Court has a role to play. These lower federal courts, in my opinion, do not. They should not be able to slow the chief executive of the United States. And we see that over and over and over and over. It's just absolutely breathtaking. Also, the issue of the economy, and we've got to talk about this morning. There are a number of stories just about everywhere you go. Americans sour on Trump's handling of the economy. That's a Reuters Ipsos poll. And you're seeing this in a number of stories. Politico, warning signs for Trump. Pessimistic outlook on the economy grows. Axios, voters warn Trump, MAGA, but not like this. New York Post, Trump's economy, foreign policy approval underwater as he nears the 100-day mark. PBS saying Americans expect higher prices from Trump's tariffs, according to polls. Today.com, new polls show growing disapproval of Trump's tariffs and the economy. So there's just a huge number of stories on this. CNBC is saying just 37% of Americans approve of the president's handling of the economy. About 59% disapprove of Trump's tariffs on other countries. That's a Pew Research Center survey. There's a partisan split in Americans' confidence in Trump's ability to handle the economy. You see that all of the time. You've got a huge divide between Democrats and Republicans on that issue. So we will talk about that coming up this morning. You approve of the president's handling of the economy. We will talk about it in more detail. That is, that ties in, I think, to the story I was sharing with you about the tariff talks and the president again saying that the president of China has called him. China is saying that's not true. So that has been a bumpy road. And the thing, the thought that I have that comes to my mind, especially when it comes to the economy, Donald Trump has been in office for 100 days, right? It's coming up his 100th day in office, and everybody expects that after Joe Biden and the debacle and the disaster of the last 4 years and the destruction that took place over the course of the last 4 years, what is this expectation that people have that this is all going to get fixed right now? That just boggles my mind. And that's a difficulty I have. Everybody expects this to be fixed right now. They want it now. And, that's an attitude that has been fostered by, by everyone. Companies who have been out there, hey, fast and, when it comes to getting items, Amazon would be an example. Okay, you order from Amazon early enough in the day, we're going to get it to you that day. Everybody expects immediate results. And when we're talking about the economy and we're talking about, what's going on in the country and the mess regarding these judges I was mentioning, you think you can fix that in 100 days? You think you can fix the economy after Joe Biden just delivered body blow after body blow to the U.S. economy? You think that could be fixed in 100 days? My friend, I think you are naive as hell if you believe that. It's just not possible, and a lot of people do. They want what Trump ran on improving the economy, and the economy's not any better. They apparently think it's like flipping on a light switch, that it's that easy. And these things are difficult. And I don't, part of the reason I get a little bit concerned is I wonder if Americans, based on this polling, I don't think they have, I'm not sure that they can be in it for the long haul. They want everything. They want it now. And if it doesn't happen, they're not happy. They're upset. The polls go down. We are, in my opinion, far, far, far too much of a poll-driven society. And you just see that in a big, big way. Other big stories this morning. There were so many mourners that were lined up to see Pope Francis lying in state at St. Peter's Basilica. At the Vatican, kept the doors open all night. The turnout much higher than expected. So they closed the Basilica for just an hour yesterday morning for cleaning. Excuse me. Otherwise, they were open all night long. It's just been incredible. Also, yesterday, Border Czar Tom Homan said that Congress needs to make some immigration law changes. and raise the threshold for asylum claims at the border. And he said, I hope Congress could make some changes. He said, because what concerns me is every 4 years, a new president comes along, issues brand new executive orders to undo what the previous president did. I wish they'd settle this. Congress could fix these, he says, Congress could fix 3 laws that would take 85% of the problem away from the border. And of course, the problem is with Congress because you've got, division in Congress as well. So maybe this is something once they get the president's one big beautiful bill finished, maybe that would be something now that Republicans are in control of Congress. Maybe that's something they can get done. Also, there is an incredible story outside of the political vein. And you may have seen this video. It's pretty shocking. It's a mother and her 2-year-old and 6-month-old children who were rescued by Good Samaritans. This was in Jacksonville, Florida. And there's video of this. You may have seen it. These Good Samaritans are being hailed as heroes after they stepped in to save this woman. According to authorities, witnesses say a man was attempting to drive away in an SUV while a woman was trying to remove her 2 young children from the vehicle, from the back seat. And you see all of these people that just come running up, and it's an incredible video. I saw it at foxnews.com, but it's available at a lot of other places as well. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. Sorry, I went a little bit long. Cloudy skies, 45 this hour of the Greg Belfrage Show, brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Day mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, the Give You More Tire and Automotive Store.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Andersen picture and combination windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and lighten a bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today.
That's ABC Seamless.
Nielsen Construction invites you to the Clubhouse grand opening at 9 Mile Creek, a 55-plus community in Teague. Tour beautiful homes and the brand new Clubhouse, Sunday, May 4th from 11:30 to 1:30, 1530 North May Place in Teague. Don't miss it.
For years, Senator John Green has been a strong supporter of America's small businesses, recognizing that they need a level playing.
Where were the polls during the Biden presidency showing, and where was the media then jumping on that, demanding then that the Biden administration improve the mess? It just shows, how broken our country is.
The massive tax hike on small businesses, paid for by the National Federation of Independent Business.
Wesley Financial Group is not an law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-517-1717. That's 800-517-1717. 800-517-1717.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? A man age 50 non-tobacco user can obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $110 per month. Level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, there are great rates available for you as well. Call Term Busters for a quote. 1-800-908-7636. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 1-800-908-7636. Remember, call Term Busters.
6:30, cloudy and 45. We'll check in with Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Sioux Falls Fire Rescue is looking for new recruits. Joe will have details coming up in minutes here on Kello.
President Trump's agenda facing more legal setbacks as 3 federal judges block key actions like requiring proof of citizenship to vote.
He argued under the Constitution,
Just infuriating.
states have the authority to regulate federal elections, not the president. Meantime, another judge in California blocked the Trump administration from stripping federal funds for sanctuary cities. And finally, a Maryland judge ordered the government to bring back another man who was deported to El Salvador.
As Fox's Madeline Rivera, today's the last day for Catholics around the world to visit St. Peter's Basilica to pay their respects to Pope Francis before his funeral tomorrow morning. More than 128,000 mourners waited hours to say goodbye.
It's very holy, and seeing the body and just remembering everything that he stood for is very important.
President Trump is set to attend the funeral. It's happening at 4 a.m. Eastern Time. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. The federal appeals court has upheld the conviction of former Oglala Sioux Tribe President Julian Bear Runner. He's serving 22 months for embezzlement and fraud and must repay the stolen funds. He's currently in a Texas prison and set to be released in July. The Gate of Opportunity will open Monday for candidates to become a member of Sioux Falls Fire and Rescue. The requirements are basic. You need to be between 21 and 44 years old, have a high school degree or GED, and the physical ability required for firefighters. Battalion Chief Ian Stark says he's glad he made the move 11 years ago.
Sioux Falls has really got one of the best departments in the country. It prioritizes its people, its service to the community. It's got great equipment, reliable stuff, and it always makes sure that we show up to the job with equipment that's state of the art, and it makes the job effective and safe.
The application period runs from next Monday, the 28th, through May 21st. You got any files to shred? The annual Sioux Empire Crime Stoppers Shred event is tomorrow from 8 to noon. Bring your sensitive documents for secure, touchless shredding. It's just $5 per box or bag. You just stay in your car and volunteers will unload for you. Drop-off sites are at Lincoln, Roosevelt, Sioux Falls Christian, and Washington High Schools. Proceeds support local crime prevention. Tomorrow is National Drug Take-Back Day. The free event is a chance for South Dakotans to safely and anonymously dispose of their unused meds to better keep their community safe. To find a drop-off site near you, visit dea.gov/takebackday. And the City of Presidents in Rapid City is adding a new statue, President Trump. It's the first time a sitting president has been added to the display. The privately funded statue was commissioned in 2021 and will be unveiled next weekend. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Weather brought to you by Infinity Sedation Dentistry, Sioux Falls. They fix your teeth while you sleep.
After some nice rain yesterday, we're looking at decreasing clouds this afternoon. High temperature near 60.
Thank you, Robert.
Area. North wind at 10 to 20.
I care about these things. I care about this country. I care about my children, my grandchildren. I worry about the country we're leaving for them. And because right now it's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
That matters is the race for a better informed public. Kello News Talk.
Very impatient person. That's where my passion comes from.
This weekend, in a loving way, to your parents and grandparents.
You know what the problem is? Just fix it. Right.
Americans
I'll be right back.
and older fell for scams that cost them $4.8 billion of their money. And every single one of these scams could have been avoided. And that's where you come in. I'm PM Commando for ExpressVPN's secure servers that reroute my internet connection so that all my data is encrypted. Get an extra 4 months free right now at expressvpn.com/Kim. The heart of the message is this. Your bank, your government, city, state, or federal, post office, courts, police, IRS, Apple, Microsoft, or any other major entity will never call them, email, or text for anything, especially late taxes, unpaid traffic tickets, or warnings that their computer or bank account has been compromised. This will never happen. Always hang up and ignore. Sign up for my free newsletter at getkim.com. Every time you go online, internet providers track your every move. Here in the United States, they're selling our browsing history, even in private mode. Until that becomes illegal, protect yourself like I do with ExpressVPN, an easy-to-use app that encrypts and reroutes all your internet traffic through secure servers. By using ExpressVPN, my internet provider cannot see my browsing history. I can hide my IP address, the number identifying me, and my location online. And I can change my IP address to be more anonymous online. With servers in over 100 countries, I can appear virtually anywhere I choose. ExpressVPN is so easy to use. Get connected with a single button, with apps for every device like phones, laptops, desktops, and tablets. Get up to 4 months of ExpressVPN for free at expressvpn.com/Kim. That's expressvpn.com/Kim. Go now while you're thinking about it. Get up to 4 extra months of ExpressVPN for free right now at expressvpn.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, with 2 locations to make sure you have the proper traction this winter. A little more coffee, get myself even more wound up.
Of America's small businesses, recognizing that they need a level playing field to compete against larger corporations. Thank you, Senator Thune, for leading the fight to protect the 20%.
Okay, I'm going to draw a line of distinction between the radio show and what I'm doing on YouTube, right, and Facebook, because I have, I've been really trying to concentrate on my YouTube numbers and grow those numbers, get more people pulled into what we're doing. And it's really, really difficult for a number of different reasons, I think. But one of the things that makes it really difficult is I think we got too many people that they would rather go watch things that are entertaining rather than be aware of what's actually going on. And I'm not a great entertainer unless, that's not I'm an observer of events and a commentator, but when it comes to entertaining, that's not my strong suit. It really isn't. I mean, I've been on stage, and then you've got lines that are written for you. So it's a totally different kind of situation. Just myself personally, I'm not an entertainer. So people are not going to be, glomming on to my YouTube videos because, man, that guy is so entertaining. That's just not me. It's just not me. And I've thought about that. Well, because I've been concerned, how do I grow my YouTube numbers? How do I get those up there? And I don't know that I want to do what it would take. I don't want to be another vacuous, empty-headed fop out there, I'm just going to be who I am. And if folks find me, I'm grateful. I'm really grateful to you guys. But beyond that, it's like, no, I'm not willing to do what it takes to make sure I can get my YouTube numbers up. I'm just gonna keep sharing the news and my thoughts as I have them. And I'll leave it to others to. And I don't want to say that everyone else who's on social media brainless, because they're not. There are some folks on social media who are really compelling, conservative, point of view.
A big story can stop you in your tracks.
I never expected to be one of them.
Know about are all on the most listened to news source in Sioux Falls. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9. Stimulating talk.
638. Cloudy skies, 45. It's really great to have you along this morning. Thank you so much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. This hour brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
These are the stories that are trending this morning. The president saying that he is working with China and on the trade war, and China is saying not true. Also, earlier this week, the president This was during an Oval Office meeting on Tuesday. The president told reporters that the tariff level, excuse me, he said the tariff level that he has imposed on China at 145% will come down significantly, but will not be zero. And then Beijing yesterday said China is not negotiating with the U.S. over tariffs after the president suggesting that could be reduced substantially. China is saying any claims about the progress of China-U.S. trade negotiations are groundless, as trying to catch the wind and have no actual or no factual basis, China says. Also, second federal judge has blocked the Trump administration from withholding federal funds from schools that participate in diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. So hours after a New Hampshire judge had issued a similar order yesterday, a federal judge in Maryland appointed by Trump issued a broader ruling prohibiting the Department of Education from using federal funding to end DEI initiatives within public schools. What are we all, children? Do we not understand? I've understood this for decades, that the federal government uses funding to get states to do what they want, and they withhold funding when states don't do what they want. And now we've got judges saying they can't do that? It's been going on my whole lifetime. What the holy, what are they talking about? This is just absolutely insane, man. All right. The president yesterday requested Attorney General Pam Bondi investigate Act Blue and other donation groups. And the White House said this is a crackdown on illegal straw donor and foreign contributions in American elections. If you're not familiar with Act Blue, it's the main online donations platform for Democrats. And in a media statement, Act Blue has said the president's action blatantly unlawful, and they promise to immediately pursue all legal avenues to protect and defend itself. So the president also asking the U.S. Supreme Court to lift the block on the transgender military ban. So he has made a new emergency request of the U.S. Supreme Court. He is looking for an immediate stay of the injunction blocking this ban on transgender military service members. They want an immediate stay. Also, the president plans to hold a rally in Michigan to mark his 100th day in office. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said this on Wednesday. The story's trending this morning. And she said President Trump is excited to return to the great state of Michigan next Tuesday, where he will rally in Macomb County to celebrate the first 100 days, she said on X. So that'll be coming up next Tuesday. I shared this news with you yesterday. It was a big story. The president yesterday expressing his frustration with Russia on True Social. This is after Russia had launched strikes against Kyiv, just hours after the president had some sharp words for the president of Ukraine. And the president posted on True Social, "I am not happy with the Russian strikes on Kyiv, not necessary and very bad timing. Vladimir, stop," capital letters. 5,000 soldiers a week are dying. Let's get the peace deal done. And then I see the New York Post is critical of the president, that he's not showing any more strength here than Joe Biden was when he was president. You know, when he's, what was it that, I can't remember what what President Biden, it was a one letter response to Russia, and they're saying, with Donald Trump saying stop, it's the same thing, just as ineffective. Also, the Trump administration filing federal charges after hearing that an illegal immigrant convicted of manslaughter set to be released over 6 years early in California. This man was driving drunk, high, speeding at about 100 miles per hour when he crashed into a car being driven by a young couple, 19-year-olds. They were both killed and burned alive in the car accident. So he was convicted on 2 counts of gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated. So Fox News had reported earlier this week that he would be released by California state government on July 19th after serving only 3.5 years of his 10-year sentence. Families of the victims were informed of the release on Easter Sunday. Wow. And so you've got the Trump administration weighing in on this. Attorney General Pam Bondi said this is absolutely unconscionable. What about justice for these teens? What about the rights of their parents? She said the administration will work with ICE to make sure this illegal alien receives full punishment for his crimes. Just amazing. 10 years in prison, serves 3.5 years. And he's in the country illegally, has killed a few people. And yeah, by all means, let's let him out early. Wow. Democratic Senator John Fetterman calling on the president to ditch talks with Iran and bomb the country. The Fetterman said negotiations with Iran are pointless. He said, waste that blank. He said, you're never going to be able to negotiate with that kind of regime that has been destabilizing the region for decades already. And now we have an incredible window, I believe, to do that, to strike and destroy Iran's nuclear facilities. So he's saying enough talk. Just strike Iran and wow. That's coming from Democratic Senator John Fetterman. Other stories trending this morning. Colon cancer rates are on the rise, especially in people under age 50. And reports are saying doctors don't fully understand why. No clear explanation for the increase, according to researchers. And you've got a growing number, again, the colon cancer rates, especially in people under age 50, are increasing. And researchers want to know why. They're trying to figure that out. The city of Uvalde, Texas, and the families of Robb Elementary School and the shooting victims reached a settlement after city council members this week voted unanimously to approve a deal. And the mayor of Uvalde saying nothing can ever make up the losses and harms these families endured. But today's agreement marks an important step forward in advancing community healing, ensuring our city forever honors the lives we tragically lost, they said. So several lawsuits had been filed demanding accountability for the response or lack of it. Also, the 24-year-old Highland Park parade shooter was handed 7 life sentences yesterday, and the judge described the shooter as depraved. He's beyond any rehabilitation, the judge said. The death toll, again, in that shooting rose to 7. More than 50 people were wounded by the time it was all over. 7 life sentences. It's still eligible for parole. Wow. Also, Meta's oversight board has criticized the company's policy changes in January, reducing fact-checking and eased restrictions then on sensitive topics. So the board expressed concern over the hasty implementation of these changes without public information or human rights. Meta, Facebook, wow. Lost, forever lost. Okay, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth this week denied reports that he ordered a makeup room at the Pentagon. Apparently, there were stories out there saying there was a refurbishment of a green room in the building, was being refurbished, and apparently they were looking at turning it into a makeup room. You know, you appear on camera, and so you go on television, makeup is standard. So, but Hegseth says, number one, totally fake story. No orders and no makeup, but whatever. Number two, we should have installed tampon machines in every men's bathroom at the Defense Department instead. He says the leftist news media would have loved that. He wrote that on X. So most of the changes in the green room were furniture modifications. They did put in a director-style chair, mirror, a makeup light, which they already had. So those were not purchased. They just put them in place. And the media shook up about that. Meanwhile, you know, we got all of these federal judges blocking Trump. They love it. It's another day in bizarro world, my friend. All right, climate activist was arrested inside Trump Tower in Manhattan on Wednesday. You may have seen photos of this or video. He disfigured a presidential seal in his protest, drawing attention to government inaction on climate change. He was wearing a shirt that said "Join or Die." And he spray painted USA across a presidential plaque in the lobby of Trump Tower. 36-year-old weirdo at the center of that. Also, first round of the NFL draft is complete. So there were a number of things that were taking place this week. But the first round of the NFL draft is complete. Both Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman will be subpoenaed this week, according to reports, as to whether or not those can be believed. But Taylor Swift is close friends with Blake Lively, and Hugh Jackman close friends with Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds. And it's unclear how much involvement they had in Lively's It Ends With Us legal battle against the director, but that story is trending. I just shake my head. I'm like, what? Why is this? Okay, whatever. An Arizona Senate committee launching an investigation into the state corrections department after an inmate allegedly killed 3 other men in prison. Killed 3 other men in prison. And the chairman of the Senate Public Safety Committee in Arizona said, I fear for the lives of the correctional officers and staff. who are reporting to duty every day, risking their safety in a facility that is proven it cannot prevent dangerous criminals from inciting violence. Wow. Also, an experimental aircraft crashed at Joint Base Langley in Virginia. The incident under investigation by authorities, including the National Transportation Safety Board. This was the MX aircraft MXS, which is popular because of its sport and aerobatic designs that was involved. So it's unclear if the aircraft was part of the scheduled air show. Also, a 19-year-old man facing arson charges related to a wildfire in Ocean County, New Jersey. It wound up burning more than 15,000 acres. Facing aggravated arson and arson charges related to the fire, and if found guilty, faces up to 10 years in prison. Also, the president of Palestine, President Abbas, calling on Hamas Wednesday to release all the remaining hostages and relinquish control of Gaza to the Palestinian Authority. He argued that as long as Hamas continues to hold hostages, it provides Israel with excuses to continue its military operations in Gaza. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. 6:57, cloudy and 45. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Well, thank you, my friend, for starting your day with me. I really do appreciate it. Hope you'll return for the fourth hour at 9:30 today. Otherwise, have a wonderful weekend. Hope to see you again soon.